Stand by for Gowanna.org radio. In 3, 2, 1. Cue the announcer.
You found Gowanna.org radio, your one source for tech news and reviews. Now, almost live from sunny Florida, here's your host, Gowanna McCall.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to episode 268 of Gowanna.org radio. We got a great show lined up for you. Six stories to talk about, ranging from mosquitoes to Skype to Microsoft Tag. You will probably not find another show of Gowanna.org radio with such a wide variety of stories, but here we are. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, but tonight we're starting at about 10. Ooh, why are you late, Gowanna? Why are you late? Well, I got this thing called a job. You may have heard of it. It provides money and bread and bacon for said wife and said husband in Casa de Buena, and things got to happen. I got to do things, man. I got to work, but ran a little late tonight, and I tweeted on Twitter. That's because that's what I do on Twitter. I tweet about tweeting about things, and on Twitter I put that we're going to be recording Gowanna.org radio a little bit later than normal, and that is exactly what we are doing tonight. So buckle up. Should be a fun show. I don't foresee it being that long, but it should be all right. So we got a great show lined up for episode 268 of Gowanna.org radio.
It's time for Gowanna.org radio's tech news for this week.
And for our first story, we're going to talk about Chromecast. Not really Chromecast, but an application that has kind of been a development since the idea of Chromecast was thrusted upon us from that Google event. This article comes by way of Engadget, and it talks about an actual Android program from Kushik Dutta. He has been teasing us with all types of little hacks and workarounds and things that you could typically not be able to do with the Chromecast in your Android phone. He's been able to do it through little demos here and there. But he has finally released an app, and it's called AirCast. AirPlay, AirCast, sound very similar. But essentially, this will allow you to use your Chromecast with more apps than the Chromecast sanctioned apps like YouTube and Netflix and those. Now, we've seen other solutions crop up out there, namely to do with rooted Android phones. We've seen some CyanogenMod capabilities where you can play any video on your Android device and run it through your Chromecast. But that requires rooting your device, which, if you're an iPhone user, don't know what that means. That is essentially the same as jailbreaking your device, getting root access and doing things that are typically allowed. But if you root your device, you're allowed to do it. So this AirCast program, from what I can tell, does not require rooting your device. It is appearing on the Google Play Store, but I can't try it because it's like it doesn't appear on all devices, like the HTC One, which happens to be the phone that I own. Why he got a hate? And you know, he was pretty much demoing this thing on the HTC One in his videos, and I'm like, anyway, but this is cool. You'll be able to share videos from Gallery, Dropbox, Google Drive, and other different sources that may not be available via the, like I said, the normal apps like YouTube and Netflix, and from your Chrome browser on your desktop. That doesn't really count. This is talking about your phone. But one of the things that I liked about the Chromecast was its smooth video playback from the Android device, namely with YouTube videos. If you've got YouTube playlists set up in a nice way, this is a great way to consume content on your television. It is really, really smooth. The video is really crisp and clean, and it was a great experience. Now, this is like night and day from streaming from my browser on my computer, which I tried to do Twitch TV streaming on my Chromecast that way, and it was pretty abysmal. It was skipping, and oh man, it looked like a slideshow on the television, but it was fine on the laptop. So, and fine on my desktop as well. I don't know what exactly is happening there. So hopefully some kind of tweaks are being put into place to make that Chrome tab, you know, that tab, sharing your tab on a browser to the Chromecast, make that a little bit smoother. Right now, I'm enjoying the unofficial Twitch app. If you're curious about this topic, there's a Roku app called the unofficial Twitch app. It is really, really nice. So if you want to watch Twitch streams on your television set, I highly, highly recommend this particular app. It's not made by Roku, but it's made by just an ordinary guy. It's called the unofficial Twitch app. If you Google that, you can find a pretty good Twitch experience with your Roku, which is kind of a competitor to Chromecast. But if you want to get your Chromecast on your Android device, but you don't want to be limited to Netflix and YouTube, check out this particular app called AirCast, which is written by Kaushik Dutta. This article's over on Engadget.com. They got the details over there. Do you ever watch videos on YouTube, very popular ones, and you just notice that the counter stops at 301? What's that? How you doing that? What is that? What are you doing with that? What does that even mean? It just happens all the time. The video counter, the number of views counter, it just goes all the way to 301, and then it stops. When this first started happening, people used to joke on the comments. They were like, "I'm the 301st viewer," and it used to get upvoted a lot, especially with it, the early days of it. But it was just like one of those phenomenons. It's like, man, what in the world is going on? Well, this article over in Business Insider kind of leads some credence to what's going on the back end, and they got some YouTube videos that are making light of the situation, like jokingly saying why you get 301 views and then you just stop. It was something that really perplexed me. But the reasoning, spoiler alert, if you don't want to be surprised by me revealing what the article says, you might want to walk away from this podcast and go get a drink of water. Anyway, here's what the explanation says. When a new video goes up and starts to attract attention, Google wants to make sure the views it is getting are real, and not dubious clicks coming from botnets or unscrupulous publishers who want to make their videos look more popular than they really are. So YouTube pauses the counter at 301 views while its systems subject the video and its cache duplicates on servers all over the world to a statistical process that verifies traffic. So that doesn't sound like the viewers are going into the abyss of nothingness. I know a lot of people are concerned that when it hits 301, you start losing views and they just go into the pit. But this is where Google says, all right, you're getting a lot of views here, buddy. We're going to make sure that this is not a botnet, because botnets are evil and do bot things, and you don't want bots on our we're Google. We have bots, but you can't have bots. So yeah, we don't want you to synthetically drive up traffic, which makes sense. This article goes on to say they don't know why Google chose 301. I don't know either. I have a feeling it was just a statistical number that came up in the meeting. Somebody probably asked, well, at what point do we start to see the trend start to rise at an exponential rate, and why? And what number does it converge at, with 6 to the tau power divided by cake and chocolate chip cookie dough with the side of ice cream? And somebody said, sir, I think the number's 301. The number's 301, sir. Well, we'll just stop it at 301 and we'll kick in the statistical bots to make sure that nothing that didn't happen. I'm just kind of making that up as I go along, but you can get the idea. I don't know where that 301 came from. But it's good to know the exact reasoning why. So if somebody asks you, well, why does YouTube stop at 301 views? You can say, well, I listened to this guy on the internet. His name's Buona. He's got this podcast called Buona.org Radio, and he explained it to me. I feel smarter already. But check it out, guys. This is over on BusinessInsider.com. They got the details. Why in the world does that YouTube video stuff stop at 301 views and then just goes from there? Well, the answer may surprise you. So check out the article.
You're listening to Bawana.org Radio, a potpourri of tech news and reviews.
And for our next story, we're going to talk about Skype. Skype for Outlook.com preview is now available in the US, according to the folks over there on Engadget.com. Now, this is one of the first big integrations of Skype and Microsoft we've seen since the Windows 8 integration, as well as the merge with, or the kind of the phasing out of MSN Messenger. If you didn't know, Microsoft and Skype have formed a pretty big alliance, and Outlook and Skype just shows that latest and greatest integration. So if you use Outlook.com, you can check out the Skype for Outlook.com preview, which allows you to sync your contacts and probably call your contacts and do some Skype related functions over there. Now, the Skype integration with Microsoft so far has been going pretty seamless. I haven't encountered huge issues with limited times I use Skype. Skype has its own types of problems, mainly security related. Microsoft hasn't really improved that, but at least nothing is getting worse from my standpoint. I don't use Outlook.com, but I imagine a big variety of people do. I think a lot of Hotmail users kind of shifted over to Outlook.com. It was a kind of a seamless transition for those guys. And if you use Skype, it's kind of a value proposition to just go ahead and integrate your contact list that you have with Skype with your address book on Outlook.com. So check this story out, guys, over in Gadget. Really quick story. Skype for Outlook.com. If you want to check out the integrations that they've put into place, you can check it out right now by signing up for the preview. And Gadget has the details. Speaking of Microsoft QR code competitor Tag is going to shut down shop. Now, a lot of you probably never even heard of Tag, but this was Microsoft's attempt to combat the QR codes that we're seeing everywhere. These are those little square. They look like square barcodes that can house a lot of data, and you can take a picture of them on your phone and go to a website or do some other things with them. Microsoft tried to come up with a competitor for this a few years ago, and I remember when it first came out. And instead of using the traditional QR code method, Microsoft used triangles and colors, and a lot of the data that was associated with their tag, their picture tag, if you will, is stored on their servers, whereas the QR code contains all the data that is needed. So Microsoft Tag Service is to close 2 years from now, according to a statement on the Tag website. And one thing that shocks me is that 2 years is a long time. I would expect to hear like this is going to shut down in 3 months or 6 months. I didn't realize people actually use this. I saw it when it came out and I was like, nope. But see, I don't use QR codes either. So I'm not in the market for this kind of stuff, but I just never seen anybody use a Microsoft Tag, even Microsoft employees, that are on the internet, that are prominent. I've never seen them use Tag. So who's using this? I mean, who knows? I don't know who's using this. So check this story out over on betanews.com. They got the details. Microsoft QR code competitor Tag to shut down shop. 2 years notice is kind of a long time for a service that seemingly is not being used at all.
You found Bawana.org radio. Tech news and tech gadgets for the hardcore geek in all of us.
For our next story, we're going to talk about something that's, something near and dear to my heart, called IP bans. I used to moderate IRC channels like way back in 1990, 92, going that far back. And these channels got fairly large. I mean, from my perspective, having like over 500 people in the channel was a lot of people. And I used to ban people by hand. We didn't have fancy bots like you guys have today. We did have them, but we ended up writing our own. And then we kind of migrated to bots like Egg Drop and other types of bots that were fairly popular back then. We even wrote our own IRC2 scripts to do what's called IP bans. And that was my first introduction to the concept of banning somebody via their IP address. And when they would connect to IRC, we would be able to determine their IP address and ban them based on their host mask that they're connecting by. And that would typically be a DNS resolution, a reverse DNS resolution of their IP or the IP address itself. So I've been around this thing for a while, and I still deal with it today with my administrative duties with Twitch and even stuff that I do day to day with my job and just IP addresses in general and dealing with them. So when I saw this story, I was kind of touched. ArsTechnica.com talks about a story between Craigslist and this site called 3Taps. And they went to court, basically, the battle. And it's Craigslist versus 3Taps. There's a PDF about it. And the judge ruled that bypassing an IP ban is a violation of law. And I was like, oh, Oh, look at that. That's so cute. But essentially what happened is that 3Taps was rehosting Craigslist ads, and they were doing it illegally. And Craigslist is a way for people to post advertisements for stuff they're selling or post services they're providing and whatnot. It's like a public classifieds ad system. And Craigslist issued a cease and desist to 3Taps. 3Taps didn't stop. Craigslist essentially IP banned their access, and then 3Taps bypassed it by changing their IP addresses through various proxies and whatnot. So they went to court. Judge said, that's not legal. Now, we could take that out of context and say, well, you can't throw somebody in jail for changing their IP, because changing your IP on the internet is so commonplace now, and people have not, they don't really take it seriously that you can connect to a proxy and basically fake your identity on the internet. We don't like to look at it that way, but when you do connect to a proxy, you are essentially faking your identity on the internet. And a lot of us do it to protect ourselves, to give ourselves privacy. But some people use it to gain access to services that they're not supposed to be using. Like, for instance, like things like Netflix or any American-based sites, they'll use a NA proxy to connect. People will even use proxies to unlock video games early. They'll pretend like they're in the United States so it can get the game earlier just to unlock it, and then they'll you know what I'm talking about. Don't give me those shifty eyes. You know what I'm talking about. But it's commonplace today. We use proxies, and we change our IP addresses all the time to hide our identity for various purposes. So it's easy to get a little bit concerned when you hear that it's against the law to change your IP to access a public website. Now, being an admin on Twitch, man, this happens by the second. People bypass bans all the time. And should we throw them in jail? Yes. No, I'm just joking. Should we throw them in jail? I don't know. I would say no initially, but at some point there's going to be some regulation around this as especially the U.S. government gets a little bit more tech savvy. They're going to say, why in the world are you allowing idiots to be idiots? Why don't you just throw them in jail? I don't know, man. I don't know. But 3Taps in this case was wrong. They were dead wrong. And I'm glad that the judge ruled that what they did was wrong. Because, they're essentially stealing Craigslist content. And then when Craigslist told them to stop, they didn't. And then they circumvented the bans that Craigslist did. And the judge said, by circumventing the bans the way you did, you are in violation of law because I said so. We're going to figure out how this is going to affect us in the near future. But I think the ordinary user shouldn't have to worry right now. But definitely keep your eye on this type of topic because, like I said, us tech savvy people, we see this stuff all the time. And like I said, I've been seeing it since the 90s. But some of those guys up in the U.S. government, and they're making the laws, they're just starting to learn this stuff. So we got to educate them appropriately so that they don't do anything stupid. Check it out, guys. Over on arstechnica.com, they got the details. Changing IP address to access public website ruled violation of U.S. law. Oh, that 3Taps. Y'all need to stop. And for our final story, we're going to talk about mosquitoes. Los mosquitoes. Being a Floridian, I am very familiar with these bloodsuckers. These guys fly around. They land on that back part of your leg that you can't reach in time to kill them. And then they proceed to take a drink of your delicious blood. And by doing so, causes a little itch. Most times you can't feel them. The most annoying mosquitoes are the ones you don't feel bite you. But all of a sudden you got a little bump on the back of your leg and it's itching. You're like, mosquitoes, I hate you. But the ones that bite and hurt also suck. Those big ones that can carry you away. Yeah. Those suck too because they really suck. But this story over on device.com kind of made me chuckle. Florida's going to try to target mosquitoes using drones. And immediately I thought of somebody sitting back with a joystick, flying a drone around, shooting mosquitoes out of the air. But that's not what's happening. Essentially, these drones are going to try to target the larvae nests. And In case you don't know, mosquitoes, all they need is shallow water and a warm climate, and boom, they breed. And that's why Florida is such a popular place, because we're essentially in a swamp down here. So there's standing water everywhere, a lot of times, especially when it rains, and even when it doesn't rain, it's pretty much a marshland. So what these drones are designed to do is that they look for the larvae beds, and they take pictures of them so that we can target them and take them out. Initially, these drones are not going to destroy anything. Wink, wink, wink. They're just going to be reconnaissance drones. But you can't help but think that somebody somewhere is developing an anti-mosquito nuclear device that the drones are going to drop as a payload, start killing mosquitoes by the millions. When I was just a little child, a mosquito ruined my picnic with my father, and I'll never forget it. Therefore, mosquitoes must pay! Oh boy, I could write a book on that, but I'm not going to. Anywho, check this story out, guys. This is amazing that they're going to use this technology. Now, these are drones that were originally developed by the military. It's called the Maverick drone, and they're packing a shortwave infrared camera. And they're going to try to find these larvae pools so that we can nuke them. But you can't help but think about like Skynet type stuff, where somebody's going to trick the drones to believing that humans are mosquitoes. And the drones are going to fly around, destroy mosquito family, destroy all mosquitoes, destroy. And we've got Terminator on our hands. Are you Sarah Connor? Put your weapons down. I only want to talk. Check it out, guys, over at device.com. They got the details below. We'll try to use drones to help terminate out mosquitoes. Hey guys, Buona here. Just want to take time to thank our corporate sponsors, Amazon.com, Green Man Gaming, and YouTube. Without these guys, Buona.org Radio would not be possible. So thank you to our corporate sponsors. And that concludes our episode of Buona.org Radio, episode 268. I want to thank everybody for listening. Follow us over on YouTube at youtube.com/IOldBuffa. That's where these videos are posted. You can also go to radio.buona.org. Subscribe to that RSS feed over there. You get the optional MP3 download as well. That is my primary format for this particular show. You can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Buona. And also you can follow me on Google Plus at google.com/+Buona. And I want to thank everybody for listening to today's show. And I encourage you to come by our live stream at twitch.tv/Buona, where we play video games live and we show recordings of shows like this one, and also my gaming podcast called Game Chat with Buona. So check us out. And that concludes episode 268 of Buona.org Radio. And I will see you all next time. And for our next story, we're going to talk about Skype and Skull. And for our next story, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about And for our next story, we're going to talk about Skype. And the reason we're talking about this is because you may remember